starting a new chapter today, which is called iterative method. Or numerical solutions in some books. So I'm going to directly start the topic with question from the book. Question is, show that the equation two x cubed minus 3x squared minus 2x plus 5 equals to 0 has a root between minus 1.5 and 1. Show that the equation 2x cubed minus 3x squared minus 2x plus 5 equals to 0 has a root between minus 1.5 and 1. Now, what is a root of an equation? The root of an equation is where the curve cuts the x-axis. So let's say that's a cubic curve. Maybe it will cut the x-axis at 3 points. Like this. They're saying that you have to prove that one of the roots, let's say this one, is lying between 1 and minus 1.5. Okay. If a root lies between two particular values, then what happens is that at one value, you'll have a positive graph, and at the other value, you'll have a negative graph. Okay? Since at a root, the curve crosses the x-axis. So right before the root, you'll have maybe a positive graph. Then right after the root, you'll have a negative graph. Okay? Do you guys understand this point? Okay. If this is the root, तो फिर इसको या तो ग्राफ ऐसे गुजर रहा होगा या इस डायरेक्शन में या यूं करके गुजर रहा होगा. Since at the root, a curve crosses the x-axis. So a little before the root, you'll have maybe positive graph, and then a little after the root, you'll have a negative graph. The sign of the graph flips around the root. So what do you have to do in such questions? The first thing you need to ensure is that in the equation, you have equals to 0 at one end, which we do. So let's write fx equals 2x cubed minus 3x squared. Minus 3x squared minus 2x plus 5 equals to 0. You don't even have to write equals to 0. So this is the function. And as long as you have equals to 0 at one end, only then you can do this step. Okay. If you don't have equals to 0 at one end, you'll have to do a bit of rearranging and get equals to 0. Okay, then what you do, you find the value of the function at minus 1.5 and you find the value of the function at 1. Let's find these values. 2 times minus 1.5 whole cube minus 3 times minus 1.5 whole square minus 2 times 1.5 plus 5. I'm getting minus 11.5. So since this value is negative, the other value should come out to be positive. Let's say 2 times 1 minus 3 times 1 minus 2 times 1 plus 5 is 2. So this is showing that right before the root, the graph was negative, and then right after the root, the graph is positive. That means the root definitely lies between minus 0.5 and 1, since there's a change of sign in the graph. So since there is a change of sign in the value of f minus 1.5 and f1, hence the curve crosses x-axis between minus 1.5 and 1. So that is how we prove that one of the roots of this equation lies between minus 1.5 and 1, because there's a change of sign in the value of y for these values. I just need a quick. Okay. Okay. Second question. Okay. So one kind of question you'll see in this topic is that you'll be asked to prove or to show that the root lies between these two values. उसमें आपने change of sign वाला method करना होगा. Another type of question you'll see in the past papers from this topic is the equation e power minus x plus 2 is equals to 0 has a root alpha. Find an integer n such that alpha lies between n and n plus 1. The equation e power minus x plus 2 is equals to 0 has one root alpha. Find an integer n such that alpha lies between n and n plus 1. So they're saying, okay, the curve of this equation, let's say it looks like this, e minus x है तो something like this, let's say, ऐसे कोई curve है. Okay. They're saying that you're told that this is the root alpha and it lies between two integer value. Let's say this is n plus 1 and that's n. So you have to find those two integer values. So it is slightly like the previous question, but you don't have those two values. जैसे पिछले में तो values थी minus 1.5 and 1. इसमें नहीं है. So what you'll do in this question, you will use table method to find as many values of on this curve using the table method. I'll just teach it to you in a bit. And then you'll see when does the value of y changes its sign. That is our agenda. So let's learn how to use the table method. So in your calculator, go to mode and then table. So mode, table. For my calculator, in my calculator, I have to press 7. Now it's asking me fx equals what? So I have to enter e. I hope you can find exponential in your calculator. It's underneath log. So I'm going to press shift and that key that gives me e power. In the power, you write minus, press alpha in the calculator. It's next to shift, and then press X. X is next to SD in my calculator. Then I'm press the forward key so that power niche aa jaye. Now I'm going to press minus. I have to press X again. So again, alpha X, and then plus 2. So I get this in my calculator. You can see it. मुश्किल ही है खैर. Anyway, I entered that. Now I'm pressing equals to, and it's asking me for start. In your calculator, it might ask you to enter gx. Don't enter any gx, just press equals to. Then it will ask for a starting value. Starting value could be -5, and ending could be 5. There's no fixed value you'll use here. Start is -5, end is 5, and step is 1. And then you get an entire values of x comma y on this curve. So for -5, y is positive. For -4, y is positive. For -3, y is positive. For -2, it's still positive. For -1, it's positive. So look at F2 and look at F3. There's a change of sign there. For 2, I'm writing F2. When x is 2, the curve is positive 0.1353. And when f is 3, the value of y is minus 0.95. So the curve is going from positive value to negative value between 2 and 3. So those two consecutive integer values are 2 and 3. It says find an integer value of n. So n will be 2. Any questions? Okay. If not, then we're ready to discuss iterative formula. Okay. So you're given an equation 3x cubed minus 2x squared minus 5x minus 2 is equals to 0. And we have to form an iterative formula for this equation. Write or state the iterative formula. I'm writing IF for the given equation. Okay. What is an iterative formula? We'll talk about that in a bit. For now, we're learning how to form an iterative formula. What you do in iterative formula, you need an x at the right hand side. कोई भी x आपके right hand side पे होना चाहिए. So from here, I'm going to take this to the other side because that's the simplest x we can take to the other side. So that will become 5x. And I'm going to divide 5 with everything else. So we have 3 by 5x cubed minus 2x squared by 5 minus 2 by 5. So to form an iterative formula, what do? You simply need to move one of the x to the other side. So in this case, the 5x is easiest to isolate. बाकियों के साथ आपको एक के साथ square root लेना पड़ेगा, एक के साथ cube root लेना पड़ेगा. That is absolutely fine as well. You could move this to the other side and then take square on both sides. And you could move this to the other side and take cube root on both sides in the end. That would work as well. ठीक है, so कोई भी ले जा सकते हैं, whichever is the most convenient. Okay. Now in the last step, how do we change this into an iterative formula? You write x n plus 1 in the subscript. And here you write 3 by 5. With every x, you write xn. xn square minus 2 by 5. This is the iterative formula, one of the possible iterative formula for the given equation. Hai kya ye? What is this? We'll discuss that in a moment. Not right now. Okay. Okay, another one. Now you're going to state the iterative formula for e minus x plus 2 is equals to 0. Again, you have two options. You have to move one of the x to the right hand side. It's easier to move that minus x to the right hand side instead of moving e minus x, and then you'll have to take ln on both sides. That would be way time, a lot of that will be very time consuming. So instead, what we do, we move the other x to the other side. The simpler x goes to the other side, and we almost have our iterative formula now. With the x, isolated x, you write n plus 1, and with the other x, you write xn in the subscript. That is our iterative formula. Okay, now part A was form iterative formula for the given equation. Part B is given root lies between 2 and 3. Find the root. Okay. कह रहे हैं कि जिसका रूट है इट लाइज बिटवीन 2 and 3. आपने एग्जैक्ट वैल्यू ऑफ रूट देना है, करेक्ट टू 2d3. अच्छा, अब क्या करना होता है? इफ यू हैव टू फाइंड द एग्जैक्ट रूट and you're given the two values around which the root lies, now you have to use iterative. So how do we use iterative formula? Let's say you'll start with x1 equals 2. We're assuming that the root is 2. This is the root. Then what will be x2? X2 will be, we're following this formula. X2 would be e power minus x1 plus 2. Right? यहाँ देखो इधर we have n plus 1 here. So if this is 2, then xn will be x1. Okay. Now what you have to do is substitute e power minus 2 plus 2. इसका जो भी आंसर आएगा वो नेक्स्ट स्टेप में पावर में चला जाएगा. दैट वुड बी x3. देखते हैं इसका क्या आंसर आ रहा है. 2 plus e power minus 2 is 2.135. You're asked to write the answer of each iteration correct to 4 decimal place in the exam. So I'm going to do that as well. Then we'll find x3. x3 kya hoga? Now the power will become x2. And we know what the power is. The power is now e power minus 2.1353. There are more values in the calculator. अब ये तो बहुत लंबा तरीका. If we have to continuously type the new answer as the power in the next step. So you don't do this. What you do is you feed this to the answer key. what I mean by that is you start the question by, we don't need any of this. You start with entering 2 in the calculator and press equals to. What it does is when you press 2 in the calculator and press equals to, it enters that into the answer key. So if you press answer equals, it will give you 2. So let's do that. 2 equals कर देंगे तो answer is now 2. You can press answer equals, so it will give you 2. Now the value of 2 is fed into the answer key. Now what you will do in your calculator, you write e power minus answer plus 2. So x1 is 2. Now for x2, as long as you've entered this in the calculator, you press equals to now e power minus answer plus 2. I've entered this in my calculator and I'm going to press equals. So it's giving me the second result of the second iteration, which is 2.1353. Okay. When you press equals to again, तो वो इसको दोबारा से आंसर में जाके फीड कर देगा इधर. So that would be 2.118.
क्वेश्चन है
बताओ.
मैम बार बार ये मतलब कि फॉर्मूला के अंदर तो नहीं ये वैल्यू लिखनी है बस x1 x2 x3 करके लिखी जाए
एक दफा लिख के दिखाना होता है, एक दफा डेफिनेटली दिखाना होता है. So you have to show
ठीक है
at
मैम
least once what's going on. ये इतना दिखा दो, फर्स्ट दिखा दो, बाकियों के
मतलब
साथ.
कि x2 दिखा दूं मैं x2 जो है
हाँ
उसको दिखा के फिर बाकी
हाँ,
आंसर वाला कर दूं
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. एक तो डेफिनेटली
ठीक मैम
दिखानी होती है कि हम कर क्या रहे हैं. ओके. x4 would be 2.120 and 2. x5 would be, press equals to again, 2.12000. अब आपने 4-5 दिखानी होती है, उससे ज्यादा नहीं दिखानी होती. Now in your calculator you press equals to 4-5 times and you will see that the answer is stuck at 2.12. उससे ज्यादा change ही नहीं हो रहा. So that means this is your root. So root would be 2.12 correct to 2 decimal places. This is the root. ठीक है. अच्छा, I'm very sorry. आज मेरे घर पे मेहमान आए हुए हैं तो मुझे बार बार जाके देखना पड़ता है ना. Somebody knocked on the door. I'm just coming back in a second. Probably a minute. Okay. अच्छा जी. Next question. I think we're ready to start the worksheet. Let's just go ahead and start the worksheet. I haven't posted it in the group yet. I'll do that after the class. The sequence of values given by the iterative formula this with initial value x1 is equals to 1 converges to a. Acha, let's try to understand this. In most of the question, the iterative formula is already given to you. आपने बनाना नहीं पड़ता. लेकिन कभी कभी बनाना भी पड़ जाता है. So you need to know that you need to move x, one of the x of the equation to one side, everything else to the other side. जो x आपने आइसोलेट किया होता है उसके साथ आप सबस्क्रिप्ट में लिखते हो n+1 और राइट साइड पे जो जो बाकी x आते हैं उनके साथ लिख लेते हो xn. That is how you get the iterative formula. Okay, but in 90% of the question the iterative formula is already given in the question. So you're given the iterative formula and you're given the initial value 1 जिसको हमने आंसर में फीड करना है ये भी बताया एंड इट्स सेइंग दैट इट कन्वर्जेस टू a का मतलब क्या है कि a इज द एक्चुअल रूट ऑफ दिस इक्वेशन. This a is the root of the equation जिसका ये iterative formula. ठीक है. Use iterative formula to find a correct to 2 decimal places showing the result of each iteration. So same method. We're going to say x1 equals to 1 and we're going to show x2. X2 will be 2 by 3 times 1 plus 1 by 1 square. Okay. And at the back end, what are we doing in the calculator? We're not showing that in the working, but in the calculator, you're pressing 1 equals to, and that will save 1 into the answer key. So answer is now 1. Next, you'll write 2 by 3 answer plus 1 by answer square in the calculator. Let's do that. 1 equals has saved 1 in the answer key. Now 2 by 3 answer plus fraction 1 by answer square bracket close equals to, that gives me the result of the second iteration or the first iteration. That would be relative 4 by 3. Then x, now you're just supposed to press equals to. That gives x3. So we need decimal values. So that would be 1.2639. 4 decimal place तक हर iteration के result को show करते हैं. Next would be 1.2599. Next would be 1.2599 again. Next would be 1.2599. It's not changing now. Again 1.2599. So when it stops changing, you have your root and your root needs to be written till correct to 2 decimal place. So x equals 1.26 is the root. That is the answer for part 1. Okay.
मैम जो आइटरेशन वाला रूट होता है एग्जैक्ट रूट नहीं होता, ये
Exact ही होता है.
एस्टिमेटेड नहीं होता?
नहीं, एग्जैक्ट होता है. एस्टिमेटेड इसलिए कह सकते हो क्योंकि हम इसे राउंड ऑफ कर रहे हैं. होता एग्जैक्ट है.
ठीक है मैम.
ठीक है. और ये जो कह रहे हैं ना एग्जैक्ट वैल्यू, दैट मीन्स मे बी दिस इज स्क्वायर रूट ऑफ 3 फॉर एग्जांपल. अब आपने स्क्वायर रूट ऑफ 3 की फॉर्म में देना है इन पार्ट 2. ऑलराइट, आई एम क्लियरिंग दिस. पार्ट 2, state an equation satisfied by alpha. फिर अब ये जो रूट निकाला था 1 पॉइंट जो भी निकाला था हमने, वो किस इक्वेशन का रूट है वो कैसे पता चलेगा? वो इस आइटरेटिव फॉर्मूला से पता चलेगा. अब हम ना आइटरेटिव फॉर्मूला को अनडू करते हैं. जब हम आइटरेटिव फॉर्मूला बना रहे थे तो हम n+1 और n लिख रहे थे ना दोनों साइड पे. नाउ वील रिमूव द सबस्क्रिप्ट फर्स्ट. सो the n's from the equation. So you have x equals 2 by 3 x plus 1 by x square. Okay, let's slightly rearrange it because we have x on both sides. अब हम उसको same side पे लाते हैं. So we have 3x equals 2x plus 1 by x square. So we have x equals 1 by x square. This could be the equation. They're asking for state an equation satisfied by alpha. Let me just check the answer.
m 2 over x square रहेगा.
कुछ गलत किया है. Yes. Yes, 2 है then. Okay. This can be further written as x cube equals to 2. ये भी equation हो सकती है. कोई भी, I think this is a good enough equation or this is a good enough equation, right? Any equation. So we've written the equation and then they're saying hence find the exact value of alpha. So now what's the exact value of alpha? X equals cube root of 2. Okay, that is the exact. Oh. Question number 2. Let me send you a new link before we start this question.